Now, how long have you been training total? When did you start?
I've been
at least jiu-jitsu, and
Right.
maybe not all martial arts, but
Yeah, I think with like what we would call, I don't like saying Brazilian jiu-jitsu personally, but like from the Brazilian paradigm, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu style of jiu-jitsu, that I've really been training for between 20 to 25 years. It's hard to track because it was such a kind of transitional stage, but probably 20 or 25 years.
So we've talked about that a lot on the show. I don't really care either way myself. I kind of just call it jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
The American jiu-jitsu versus, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you say you only like to call it jiu-jitsu? Do you have a reason or a take, or, I know there was like a Flow Grappling did a thing with those guys from Daisy Fresh, where they did a little bit like American jiu-jitsu. Keenan Cornelius likes to call it American jiu-jitsu. What's your take on that whole thing?
I think the first guy to ever call it American jiu-jitsu that I'm aware of was either, it may have been Robert Drysdale or maybe Rafael Lovato, maybe.
Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, I don't mind anybody calling it anything. It's whatever. But I've never personally even been to Brazil. Obviously, my teacher is from Brazil, but he, I've never gone to Brazil to see him. I've always ever seen him in the United States. And it's like, what does it really mean to put a geographical tag to it? It's originally a Japanese art. The way it was taught and conveyed to, the Brazilians who turned it into Brazilian jiu-jitsu, particularly the Gracie family, I mean, I don't think that, they were calling it Gracie jiu-jitsu. There weren't, I don't know if there's anything indicatively like from the Brazilian geography that changed anything about it. It's how is the information conveyed. The techniques aren't even like a ton different, like not the foundational layer of it anyway. Now, we can talk about sport versus self-defense versus MMA versus gi versus no gi versus submission grappling. All that matters, but I don't know. You
just listed jiu-jitsu. All of my next questions. I have all those questions. Yeah, I guess It's kind of like, when you go to China, they don't call it Chinese food. When you go to Brazil, they don't call it Brazilian jiu-jitsu, right? It's just jiu-jitsu.
Right.